do it. I am Samuel Sargrove, the son of Koklo, Sam King, you're a made of everything. I am a bubble of bubbles, rippling connecting this a flow fractal. Yo, 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 hit that like button.
And subscribe. No, really, do it.
Wow, that sounds good on the headphones too. Check, check. Hello? Hello? Nice, man. Oh my god.
Recording?
Yeah, everything's on.
All right, let's see here. My alarm's about to go off here. It'll beep.
Beep. Man, I bet your, what do you call them? Classes, retreats, sessions?
Just
When
workshop,
you have
kind of like
your
a workshop.
workshops. I bet your workshops are so cool. Like the vibes I'm getting just from this little moment of this one bowl is like completely calming. That's so cool.
I've got one this weekend.
Where at?
Najee's, Midtown Yoga.
I was really hoping you'd hit the kombucha bottle too.
And as Rogan says, we're live.
We're live, baby. We're not actually live, but we're as live as
we're live as it's gonna be.
Yeah. Dude, I really appreciate this, man. Like,
yeah, man.
This is a long time coming. It's a pleasure and an honor, my friend.
Yeah. Well, it was completely unexpected today, but
sometimes that's how it goes, right?
Yeah, it worked out. So, what do you want to chat about?
Honestly, anything, man. Like, even what you're just saying made me think of like how potent it can be when you're just open to the flow. You know,
right.
When you have this idea that just sort of pops into your head, and you're like, okay, I'll suss it out. And if he answers, then great. And if not, then I'm just flowing my other way. You didn't really put too much attachment to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty effortless. That's kind of how I try to, do things for the most part these days, with the occasional, you got to put the effort in.
There's a balance, right?
Yeah, to make things happen. Otherwise, they won't occur. But I think putting in the work on the day-to-day basis overall leads to the opportunities for you to seize the moment when it shows up, or you feel the inspiration and listen to the intuition.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I think Under Siege 2, they said chance favors the prepared mind.
Chance favors the prepared mind.
Yeah, very.
It wasn't Steven Seagal. I think it was the antagonist, but I don't remember. How did you arrive to that point where you were sort of open to intuitions and going with the flow, but then have tempered it with discipline and work?
Well, I mean, it was never there. Let me go back. I would say that it was not necessarily ever listened to. As far as the intuition and flow when I was younger, it's only been in, pretty much since I quit drinking.
I just realized we didn't even introduce you. You're Erik the Singing Bowl guy, right? Is that how you go by?
Well, I mean, that's how people find me.
Yeah, you're the Singing Bowl guy.
On Facebook. It's Erik the Singing Bowl guy.
Taking a life of its own.
But yeah, I mean, it's the Singing Bowl guy, or I use that obviously for people to identify me and remember me and stuff, because, we're not necessarily the best at remembering names. But yeah, so if you call me the Singing Bowl guy or Erik, obviously I'm going to respond to both. If you see the Singing Bowl guy, I'm going to probably know that you know me from an event.
Yeah.
But
or online, or
or online, or I've heard about you. So
have you witnessed that? I'll call it a brand, but that's not the only name we could use for it. Have you witnessed that grow? Have people called you out when you're going around and like someone's like, "Oh, the Singing Bowl guy"?
Oh no,
not yet.
No, I'm glad that's not. I mean, it's not why I did it. I mean, I did it so that I could really identify where I would meet these people, right? The people will be like, "Oh, you're that Singing Bowl guy," and then I'd be like, "Oh, that's how that person knows me," because you put yourself out there in front of a lot of people, and I go to a lot of different functions, and sometimes I just don't remember your face. I'm starting to realize that it's impossible to recall everybody that, comes to your events, or, they've heard about you and they know about you before you've ever met them, which is a pretty weird concept.
Yeah.
So
I've experienced that a lot.
I think that's what the, famous people experience, right? People come up to them that
overwhelmingly
like
right?
they know everything about this person, and then you in turn have no clue who this person is that's come up to you. But back to your question with regards to the understanding
achieving that balance.
Achieving the balance really kind of came down to once I quit drinking and really started doing the soul searching, and then I did the healing work on myself with regards to the singing bowls. That was the first time that I became fully aware of what my intuition was and what that felt like and how it was showing up. And it showed up in a very overwhelming way. But, since then it's required me to really look at myself in a way where balance has got to be a key component to my everyday living. And I had done some meditation back in 2012, 13, and I didn't know really what I was expecting to come from it, other than maybe my thought at the time was maybe I can quiet my mind. But I've come to realize it's not about quieting the mind, it's about allowing the thinking mind to show up and then not latching on to every single thought that passes through your mind. And now that I've been doing more of a diligent meditation practice, I just notice overall on a day-to-day basis that carries out into my daily life, and that brings with it a certain amount of clarity and understanding with why things show up in my world, whether it's something that I want to show up in my world or something that I don't want. So as of right now, I'm really trying to stick to my guns with regards to being diligent about meditating every day. But as I said earlier, I didn't do my meditation this morning for the first time in over 3 weeks. So I'm going to do it this evening. I hadn't done any evening meditations, and I thought, well, this will be a good one to try out. And then tomorrow I'll get up and I'll do a morning meditation, and then I'll probably do an evening one as well tomorrow. So
then you'll have a double session.
Yeah, so I'll have a double sesh within 12 hours. And my goal was when I hit 40 days of meditation on a daily basis, that I would up the time frame on how much I would meditate. Right now I'm meditating 30 minutes
30 minutes in the morning usually.
Yeah, but I'd like to take that up to 45 minutes to an hour. And it's not the most glorious thing to do, because you really realize how much you think.
Yeah. And it's good to allow those thoughts time to progress and to play out. You know, sometimes we're so distracted that's why those thoughts are probably so incessant, is because we don't even give them the time to run their course.
Yeah.
Or a lot of
And
people.
you don't even, again, you don't need to, just because you have a thought doesn't mean you need to follow that thought, right? You can just allow it to pass, just like sensations within your body, right? You know, when you have a pleasant sensation, you know, it's only there for a certain amount of time. And just like when you have, you know, like when you prick your finger with a needle, right? You know, it's really unpleasant, and then it goes away after a few moments and stuff. So
As a seamster, I identify with that. So you said that you started some meditation back in 2012, 2013. What like catalyzed that, or where did you learn about that idea? What inspired you to do
Oh yeah,
that?
that's an interesting one. I was researching just the basics of quantum mechanics and quantum physics, and I came across a talk by David Wilcock, and it was about the rainbow light body. And the rainbow light body was the phenomena that Buddha ended up as his final, you know, act in the physical world, is that he, you know, basically dematerialized to some degree to where he turned into pure rainbow light. And I was like, how the hell does that happen? Right? Like,
You're intrigued by that.
How is that even possible? And that was really the first time that I was more curious about meditation in general. And from that point, I was like, oh, maybe I should look into this whole meditation. And I think at the time, Deepak Chopra was having a, you know, he probably always has it, but he had a 20-day meditation thing that people could do.
Nice.
And I think it started out at 10 minutes, right? 10 minutes to start out. And I remember sitting down for the first time for 10 minutes to ever do it. And, you know, 10 minutes felt like an hour.
Yeah.
And I ended up doing, I think I did it maybe 18, 19 days of the 20 days, right?
Wow.
And then shortly thereafter, within about 2 weeks, I went and did a 10-day meditation course up in Washington. And that was pretty serious work.
Y'all were meditating quite a bit during those days,
yeah,
right?
It was about...
Was it a silent one?
Yeah, it was a silent meditation. So
Vipassana
meditation,
Vipassana?
which is a meditation technique that
Yeah.
Buddha taught. And yeah, it was basically from 4:45 in the morning throughout the day until 8 o'clock at night. You'd have breaks, but there would be a period of time where you'd meditate for 2 hours, an hour and a half, an hour, and you weren't allowed to speak with anybody. And I had never done anything like that. Like I said, the only thing that I had done was the 20 days, 10 minutes a day meditation. So this was like going from really like 1 mile per hour to like, now you're going to have to sit and really be with yourself. And not only the meditation part was really interesting, but what I felt was even more interesting from it was not speaking. Coming from somebody who likes to talk a lot, right?
I also like to talk a lot.
And what I noticed is on the 10th day, when you were allowed to when you were allowed to speak again, I didn't want to really. I was really comfortable with not speaking. And that was a pretty bizarre, in the sense of, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that I would have this gratification from not speaking at all. And I've since done one other meditation retreat. I did one back in right before I met you in 2016, beginning of October of 2016. Did that for 10 days, and then again, I still didn't practice. Yeah, I didn't practice the meditation technique after I got out, for who knows what reason. I think I just wanted to bring it to the forefront of my mind. And then, I think, throughout the end of last year and coming into the beginning of this year, I knew that something was going to need to change so that I could shift my overall just who I'd become, this identity that I had within myself. Something was going to need to change, in order to improve, something has to change. And what I started to realize is like, I have this logo with a guy sitting on top of a singing bowl, in a lotus position where, that brings a appealing sense of peace and harmony with it. And I wasn't really practicing that aspect of it. I mean, I was playing the bowls, but...
You were to an extent, but you realized that there was a whole nother level that you could take it to that aligned with the logo.
Yeah, and I felt from an integrity standpoint that's what really needed to occur was... and it was really more for myself. It wasn't for anybody else. I wanted to be able to speak to it if anybody ever asked me, what is it that you do? What do you do besides doing the singing bowls to, go inward? And so I reached out to a friend and I was like, look, man, I need an accountability partner for a period of time so that I can get through the initial grind of holding myself accountable. And he was like, yeah, man. He goes, just let me know. You can call every day if you want. And
this was this year?
Yeah, this was,
nice.
38 days ago.
Nice.
Is when it started. And I said that, I would reach out to him every day. And so basically the first 2.5 weeks were really where I needed the accountability. After that, it pretty much became the
habit.
Routine. Yeah,
I heard it takes 2 weeks to build a habit.
I think it's closer maybe a month, like realistically,
Yeah.
really to kind of burn it in. But yeah, it takes a period of time where you get through
The hump.
The resistance of, I don't really want to do this. I could
Yeah.
sleep in or whatever the excuses that
I've tackled jogging a few times and not stuck it, but it's going to happen,
Yeah.
because for a lot of reasons. To your point.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, that's a little bit about, the question with, I guess we can just call it situational awareness, right? Like in every moment of the day, from the waking moment until, you go to sleep. I personally feel like I have to be a little bit more aware of what I'm doing and what I'm saying and how that affects my surroundings, right? Because the inner work is what reflects back to you in the outer world.
100%. It'll help you avoid car accidents, hitting something, falling over. It'll help you avoid pissing people off. It'll help you identify opportunities for yourself and for others. Awareness is one of the biggest things that I would credit to my success. I mostly developed it through juggling because you have to be in the moment when you're juggling. The moment that you get distracted, pattern collapses, and I learned balance through slacklining. So physically I'm balancing, but then when my life wouldn't be going exactly the way I wanted, I would realize it's because things are imbalanced. And I believe that the physical act of practicing balance, even though it's a physical balance, not like a time-based or a choice-based balance, I think it still increased my appreciation and awareness for balance, even in non-physical things. I really feel that, and I always thought that was interesting.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. And, it doesn't have to be, a type of practice that I'm choosing to do. Everything can be meditative writing. Just being still enough to be in the present moment is really the most important thing. And again, not thinking about what's going to happen or what did happen. Being here, like right now as we're doing this, right? Like I'm not thinking about what's going to be the drive is going to be like home or what it was like this past weekend or anything like that.
It's interesting. I feel everything's more like high res, like your eyes, you know what I mean? Right. Like we're right here and it's so, we're right here right now. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
And powerful. And we're open to what is going to happen, but we're still going to temper it with a little bit of discernment,
Right.
We're not just going to blabber. So how did you get into singing bowls? if you don't mind me asking.
Yeah, of course. Everybody asks that question.
Yeah, it's
how did Eric get into singing bowls? And I've got many different variety and lengths of this story.
Whatever you want, man.
But really, you kind of got to get a little bit of the backstory, and the backstory is...
Before you start, let me say one thing. I've always appreciated singing bowls. I thought they were cool. I thought they sounded beautiful. But every time, and you just reminded me of it earlier, every time I hear you play them, it's like reteaching me why they're amazing. I feel like somehow your appreciation and experience with them is somehow added to the sound that I'm hearing. I don't know like how or why or how to explain that, but, and I'm not just saying this, whenever I hear you play them, it ups my appreciation of how beautiful they are and how powerful they can be.
Yeah, well, I mean, when I'm doing it, I'm not mindlessly doing it. I take focus when I'm doing it, how much I'm rubbing the bowl and the intention of how hard I'm going to, tap the bowl with the stick or...
And you don't rush the timing, you like wait for the moment.
Yeah, I wait for the moment, right? Like I really feel into it. I trust my intuition as like, okay, that's the time, and
so
just
cool.
Go with it. Yeah, there's a lot of free flow that goes with it. But yeah, so back in my 20s and even in my late teens, my way of dealing with a lot of stuff was just numbing out, right? And
Sure.
I used to drink and party pretty hard,
I smoked weed the pain away.
Yeah.
So I feel
I
you.
got that as well too, but when I was in the military for 5 years, that was a culture of drinking and drinking excessively. And yeah, so I drank for a lot of years in the military, and then when I got out in '98, I went to college. I didn't drink so much because finally I got out of the military and I could smoke weed again and not have to be like, oh man, I'm gonna get drug tested, and that was great. So I smoked more weed for a period of time there because I could, right? And it was just it was a different head change. But, a few years later in the early 2000s, the craft beer scene kind of exploded in the Northwest. And, I live in Bend, and we have breweries that, are renowned in the Northwest. And I started to go to those,
And the world, right?
Yeah. And I would go to them pretty consistently. And if I wasn't going to them, I would buy it and I would hang out at home and drink my 6-pack of 8% IPA and get my buzz on, and really I just do what I did. Was getting my buzz on. I really enjoyed the buzz state. I enjoyed being drunk. Now, having said that,
in a way it's freeing a little bit, but then it limits how free I think you can be.
Well, I can tell you where it's not free. You're not free the next day when the hangover kicks in. And man, I had countless hangovers over the years, and at some point I knew I was going to quit drinking, but it finally happened. But again, a little bit more on the backstory is I met this girl back in 2011, and when I first met her, when I first made eye contact with her, I had this voice inside my head that was like, you're going to be with her. You're going to be with her.
Wow.
And you know her. And I was like, what is going on? And interestingly enough, we were meeting at a brewery, which is a bit ironic. And we hung out for, an hour or so there. And then I walked her home. And on the walk back home, that same voice was, you're going to lose her. And I was like,
bro, we just met, voice. What are you talking about?
But I knew what that meant. I knew as soon as I heard it, I knew it was the alcohol. And that stuck with me for the full time that I was with her. And just to kind of like move forward with regards to the relationship, when it was getting towards the last 6 months, we sat down and had a conversation about how, that needed to change. And I looked at her and I remember clearly saying, it's like, I don't know if I can. And reflecting back on that, it was almost like I can't do it now. I need something else to occur. And then 6 months later, she broke it off with me, and I was devastated.
Oof.
And when that happened, when she finally said that was over, I remember looking at her and I was like, I'm done. I looked at her, and just like I looked at her, I was like, I'm done, and I won't ever drink again.
That was the last time you drank?
Yeah, and so that was January 4th, 2014.
Wow, man.
So, over 5.5 years now.
Yeah. It's amazing.
So after that, I had a lot of my identity wrapped up in the whole drinking and who I was and what I was, I considered myself a beer connoisseur, right?
Yeah.
Like I knew what I liked and why I liked it, and could talk about beer in that capacity. And then when that ended, the people that I hung out with, I just basically stepped away from all of those people, and it was nothing against them, but when you're not on the same page as those around you, people just fall away. And so for the next, for about the next 6-7 months, I just kept going down and down and down, trying to figure it out, and really was just scratching and clawing with regards to what is, who am I? What am I going to be? I hated the career that I had been in. I'd been in an IT career for over 12 years at that point, and I was just sick of it, and I didn't want to do it. And here I am, I'm 41 years old, and I don't know who I am or what the hell I'm doing. Yeah. And that's when I started studying, like I said earlier, I started researching phenomena.
Nice.
And the understanding of phenomena.
That's a good way to phrase it.
And how the unseen realms could actually be, right? Because my girlfriend prior to that was really big into that. And I was with her for 5 years, and I thought a lot of what she said was hocus pocus, and I think that was just really cognitive dissonance, really, is what it boiled down to. I didn't want to hear it because I didn't know how to process it at that point. But she planted the seed for me, thankfully. And so, fast forward, 3 years later after we had broke up, that was starting to serve me. And so anyway, I was researching phenomena and quantum mechanics, how it could explain that. And I was like, holy cow, man, this whole thing is just like, it seems like it's legit. And so, on that same series that I talked about with David Wilcock, talking about Padmasambhava, Buddha, and the rainbow light body, I had heard that the Dalai Lama's monks were going to do a West Coast tour, and they were coming through Bend.
Wow.
And I was like, I need to go see these monks, and I just had to go. So I went to this event, and they talked about the way of living was, and at the end they did a 108 chants of Om Mani Padme Hum, and that was the first time I ever done a mantra before. And so everybody did this mantra, and then afterwards I waited for everybody to leave, and I went up to the main guy, and I was like, look, I'm doing some soul searching right now, and I heard the story about the rainbow light body, and I've heard that there's been 188,000 documented cases on that the Chinese government have actually observed. Wow. And I was like, have you ever witnessed that yourself at the temples? And he looked me just like I'm looking you in the eyes, and he was like, many times.
Wow.
And just from that eye contact and that confirming, I was like, okay. I finally was able to receive that there was something going on, that I was refusing to look at or listen to.
To even consider.
Yeah, to even really consider.
I'm going to check the camera, but please keep going.
But after that, I was continuing to kind of just do my quest with regards to, deeper understanding and work. I always knew that I had this, how I described it, I didn't even have really the vocabulary for it. I had this blockage like a blockage within me. I could
I call
never,
it walls.
well, I could never understand why I really couldn't, what I perceived as being empathy for people, you know, people that were, you know, down on their luck or, you know, or suffering. I just couldn't relate empathetically.
Yeah.
Or have a compassion to the degree that I thought that those words actually meant, and it disturbed me. I didn't like it. I was like, man, what is wrong with me? You know, like, am I like psychotic? You know, what is it? So I just knew that, again, like I had this block. So anyway, there's this retreat, and I can't remember the specific name of it, but it was all about the heart, right? And just understanding the heart frequency. And I was like, heart frequency, oh, that kind of makes sense. That might, you know, that's kind of the stuff I'm talking about, the frequency of sound and vibration and how that manifests into the physical realms. And so I went to this retreat, and a good friend of mine came with me. And one of the first things that happened, I think there were 66 of us or something at this retreat, and everybody went up on stage and introduced themselves and, you know, what's your intention for the weekend. And I was like the 6th or 7th person that walked up there. I mean, I didn't know what I was going to say. And I grabbed this microphone. First time I'm in front of a bunch of people, and I didn't know what to say as I grabbed the microphone. And the next thing I know is I just like start bawling uncontrollably, like just tears just like flowing down my face. And I'm just like, what is going on here? Right? Like, what's happening? And I'm like, get it together. You know, I'm telling myself, get it together. And the only words that I could squeak out was like, you know why I'm here.
Oh, dang. That's so potent.
And then I
gosh.
handed the microphone to the next person. And as I was walking off stage, like people were clapping, right? And I was like,
wow,
whoa,
it's so real. You like let yourself be fully authentic. You like showed yourself.
Yeah.
You removed all the things that we do where we put on a facade for that moment. I mean, I'm just seeing it through your words, but you dropped your facade.
Yeah, I really did. I mean, and it wasn't
beautiful.
Planned by any stretch. I mean,
it just happened.
It just occurred. But what was interesting afterwards was the men and women who came up to me afterwards and genuinely, with appreciation in their eyes, thanked me. And I was just like, just blown away.
5 words, baby.
I was
5 words.
Yeah, I was blown away by what just happened there. And then I realized, you know, as the weekend went by, I was like, wow, that gave permission to these people to be open and vulnerable as well. You know, it just showed me how big of an impact one person can be for so many people in a really positive, encouraging way versus, you know, years before, you know, I could be on the other side of that. I could discourage people. And so it was pretty awesome to see. But anyway,
that's beautiful.
That as that weekend went on, towards the end of that weekend, we had this opportunity to experience the sound bath, and they had all different types of crystals there and all types of instruments, bowls and chimes and little drums. And, you know, I'd never had been to anything like that before. And I remember in between, before they actually had done the singing bowls and stuff, as I went up and I'm just kind of like looking around at stuff, and I'm like, it's all completely foreign to me.
Yeah.
And I was like, wow, those bowls look pretty interesting. And so when we ended up doing the sound bath and they were walking around the room and playing these bowls and these chimes and stuff, I was just like getting these like just tons of sensations through my body. I could just feel this like tingling sensation just radiating through my body. And again, you know, I'd never made the connection with sound in that way before. I mean, I think I did when I would listen to music back in the day, but not in the same capacity. Like, it was different this time, right? You know, like because I was looking to do some inner work, and I was like, wow, I have got to get me one of these singing bowls. And so after the retreat, I went home and I went on eBay and I started looking around for singing bowls. And I bought a singing bowl a little bit smaller than this one here. And I bought it directly from Nepal. And it was going to be about 2 weeks, before I got it. So during that time,
And about when was this?
This would have been, I think it was about September of 2014. So, a little bit I bet basically 9 months down the road. Maybe even August, but somewhere in that time frame.
Yeah, gotcha.
And so I'm waiting for the singing bowl to arrive, and the girlfriend that had, said you're out of here, she was leaving Bend, and she was packing up the place that we had lived in. And, she asked if I would help her, and of course, I do. And I'm just like going through, I'm just processing all of this very deep, sorrow and pity and guilt and shame, and relishing every moment that I'm having with her because I know she's leaving. And here I'm packing up the stuff out of the apartment that we were in together. Oof. And I'm looking at the tracking number, waiting for my singing bowl. Wow. And I was hoping that my singing bowl was going to be there, before she left. And it wasn't. So anyway, last night she was there. I stayed the night and relished every moment with her. Yeah. And just was like, wow, this is all happening. It's real. This is real. And she's gonna go live the rest of her life, and I don't know when I'm gonna see this person again. So I take her to the airport that morning, and I'm really that was the lowest of the low points at that point. Let her, she goes in the airport. I see her go through the doors. I wave goodbye. She gives me the keys to the apartment to take back to the landlord. And here I'm doing this. I'm kind of wrapping up things the rest of that day. And so I'm just mentally and physically tired. And I get home, and it's after 10 o'clock. And my singing bowl is waiting there.
I knew you were going to say that. How perfect is life?
And so I get the singing bowl from Nepal as, she is going to Nepal. It was a really surreal exchange. And I mean, you can't make this up. Yeah. I couldn't even believe it. It was really I
call it the chapters of our life. One day, suddenly, you reach the end of a chapter and the beginning of the next, and it's so palpable. I've literally seen a wave sweep across a field, like a park of people, where I'm like, that's the chapter. Yeah. That's just my interpretation of it.
Yeah, and so, here's the singing bowl, and I'm completely exhausted. It's 10:30 at night, and I lay down in my bed, and I really didn't even know how to play them. I had this. I didn't have this. I had a mallet with it, and I laid this bowl on my chest. I laid down on my bed, and I basically put my arms at my side, and then the one arm that held the mallet, I put the bowl on my chest. Oh, cool. And then I tapped this bowl. Wow. So it would, vibrate and make this noise. And I kept the rest of my body motionless, kind of like at times where you're doing sitting meditation. Mm-hmm. And I just, I was doing this. And the next thing I know, I'm done, and I sit up, and I'm completely refreshed. Wow. Like it felt like I had the best night's sleep. Wow. My whole disposition was, no longer glum and gleam, and the world wasn't against me, but there were possibilities, and there was light at the end of the tunnel. And I looked down and I realized it was an hour and a half. It was midnight. An hour and a half went by. I don't even know how. Anyway, that hour and a half shows up. Anyway, the first thought that I have is I'm laughing, because I'm laughing at how simple this was. Yeah. And yet how powerful this was. And the next thought was, you have to share this with people. And I'm just like, what? I got to share this with people.
Service.
And then the next thought was, how am I going to do that? Right. Like, so all of this like welling up occurring. I'm like, how am I going to do that? And so that was really kind of the start of everything with regards to the singing bowls. And, you know, basically the next 3 to 4 months is when I started to experience my intuition and synchronicity showing up in my life at a degree that I had never ever
unprecedented.
Yeah, I mean, it was, I would think about something and it would like happen.
Yeah.
I would think of somebody, they would call. I would need something, it would show up, and it was constant for weeks. And I remember on the second week, I was like, dude, what is going on? This is like freaking me out, man. Like, I was like literally tripping out. And I call one of my friends. I'm like, dude, like, I don't know what's going on, but every time that I think about something, you know, and I'm like, it's all around this singing bowl stuff. Like, I feel like I need to like do something with these singing bowls. Things were showing up for me. And so anyway, I reached out to the gentleman who did the retreat, and I was like, hey, you know, I bought a singing bowl and I had this really powerful like healing experience with it, and I'm getting some more singing bowls. And so basically in April of 2015 I went out on the road with a gentleman, and I played singing bowls with him. We did, what was it? I think we did 16 events in 18 days in 5 different cities. We went to Mount Shasta, Ashland, Oregon, Salem, Oregon, Portland, and then we went to Bend. And this is the first time I ever did anything like that. You know, I'm like
a whole tour.
Yeah, basically a little tour. That was my first experience with like the singing bowls. And I had no clue. I had never in any capacity connected with people on the level that was occurring. And it was very overwhelming at first. And then that leads into, you know, my first real full awareness that I realized that, wow, I do have empathy. Like, I'm empathic, like emotionally empathic, you know, like I feel people. And so after that, I decided that I was like, wow, maybe I can do something on my own. And so I contacted a yoga teacher that I knew, and I was like, hey, I got these singing bowls. Maybe I can come and play singing bowls in your yoga class. And she was like, yeah, I'd love to have you come and play them. And
nice.
That was the start of that. I think that was in May of 2015. I started to play the singing bowls during yin yoga classes and stuff, and just here and there sporadically, just to do it, right? You know, I wasn't asking for anything for it. I just wanted to do it because I felt so compelled to. And then I did that up until really about the fall of 2016. I went out in 2016. I went out and did my first festival circuit. I went to 9 festivals that year. I'd never been to really any festivals ever in my life. Here I am. I'm 42 at that point, and here I am going to festivals. No, I'm 44. So I'm going to festivals at 44 years old. You know, that's typically a younger crowd thing. And I set up a booth, and I just had a zero gravity chair, a fold out table, a banner that said, you know, handmade singing bowls. And I was selling these singing bowls as well, but it was more like introducing people to singing bowls. I'd have them put, you know, sit them in the chair and play the bowls over them. And I was getting just like astounding, like just the observing and the witnessing that was occurring with people, and how grateful they were and what they were sharing with me. I was just blown away. I was like, whoa, these people are having similar-ish experiences like me. Like, some people I saw them just weep, and I was like, wow,
It was powerful. It was potent. It was like helping them release and process and opening.
Yeah. Give them a little bit of a sense of letting go, right? That was really what it was. They could just kind of let go and just be, and whatever showed up for them would show up, and there was no judgment or anything on it and stuff. And so, yeah, it was pretty amazing stuff. Yeah. And then I, after that summer of doing that, I was like physically just exhausted because of how I was just taking on so much of this energy from people around me, especially at the festivals. There's just so much energy going on around at those events. And I was like drained. So I was like, whoa, what is going on here, man? Like, I need to like figure out that. So I took some time off from the bowls with regards to doing public stuff. But I still played the bowls, and actually even ordered some more bowls for myself. And then I think that was when I met you. After
that was 2016.
Towards the end of 2016, and I took some time off from doing the bowls, basically the end of 2016 through really about the beginning of last year, 2018, the beginning of 2018. It's not that they weren't important to me, but I felt that I just needed to figure out this whole emotional empath thing and
the boundaries.
Yeah, just understanding what all that meant. And then in 2018, I went to Boulder, Colorado, and bought myself the collection of bowls that you see now that I have, and those are the bowls that I used to do events. And I did quite a few events in 2018 towards the end of the year, and there were I think the most people that I had at one sitting was about 35 people, which I was like, whoa, that's pretty amazing that 35 people showed up. I didn't have any expectation. I didn't know. I still considered myself, and still do consider myself, a bit of a novice, maybe much more intermediate now, but I never really considered myself a musician. I don't necessarily consider myself a musician at this point yet, but I'm somebody that enjoys shifting the overall vibe for people into some state of present moment awareness where you can check in with yourself, and the bowls allow for that. So that is kind of the meat of the story. And nowadays, I always like to do the bowls fall, winter, spring, and so I'm starting to do events right now just in Bend. I got an event coming up this weekend, and we'll see how it goes. I added a gong to the mix of things, and I've got some different types of chimes, so I've added a little different soundscaping to it and stuff. And you've helped me with regards to getting to the point where I can record that stuff, because people are asking me. They have been asking me for a while, and now I feel like I got enough of a repertoire as far as the bowls that I can start to do that, and I want to do more of that. And I don't know where the future is going to lead me with regards to all that stuff, but I'll definitely continue to do it. So yeah, that's a little bit about.
That was astounding. So you've told this story a few times.
Yeah, I've told that story I don't know how many times. I mean, there's the 5-minute version, and I think I even did a 60-second version of that for one person before. I don't know.
I think that was about 30-ish minutes, 40. That was,
yeah.
I'm literally blown away. I mean, I've known you for a few years, and we've spent some close time together, but I had no idea. I mean, I guess why would I? But so that was that was amazing. I think when you watch that back, you're gonna be like, dang, that was really cool.
Yeah, I mean, people do always ask about it, and it's not about tooting my own horn. It's not.
No, not
at
all.
It's not.
It didn't come across like that at all.
All I can say with regards to that is what it taught me is that we're all capable of doing astounding, amazing things.
Yeah.
Just like we're just capable of doing the most horrific things. But, it's whatever you want to put your mind and how you want to direct that energy. And so that leads me back all the way around to what we started talking about, was the mindful awareness and the practices and the things that I'm doing on a day-to-day basis. What am I doing to nourish myself and hold myself accountable to being the best version of myself as I can? And, you know, I make mistakes all the time, constantly. I mean, I had, you know, I had a bit of a, you know, a difficult situation yesterday with my friend up in Portland. This is the same person that I mentioned who, you know, kicked me out how many years has it been now? 5, 6?
Oh, that's that person.
Yeah. So
that's wonderful.
So I'm still learning, but thankfully I'm much more open, even though there's a lot of old habits that show up as far as how I immediately react to stuff. And I'm doing the best that I can. I really do feel that more times than not, I'm doing the best that I can, and I hold myself to a pretty high standard, but I also know that I need to give myself a break and
we're human.
Congratulate myself, you know, this for the small things. And so
I heard it phrased as fail upward, which means when you make a mistake, use it as a learning experience to then progress. Even if you make the same mistake again, if you can re-examine it, learn again, progress more, it's all right. You know, I mean, we want to have as little cannon fodder or what's it called, when bystanders as possible, obviously, but almost every successful person, in fact, I'm sure every successful person is there because of learning from their mistakes. Yeah,
there's no doubt about it. But, you know, sometimes it can be difficult to admit that, you know, you're not perfect, you know. And we see it, you see it on TV and on social media, you know, people give us these snapshots of how perfect, their perfect moment, right?
Tip of the iceberg.
That's just a momentary flash, you know. People can they can smile for the camera, and, you know, as soon as that shot's done and over, they're back in their misery and stuff. And so, I just try to be as authentic as I can. I want to be anyway.
You're doing great from my perspective.
Yeah, I appreciate that, you know.
And before I forget, I wanted to say, you said that, you know, maybe you're an intermediate now and that you don't know if you're a musician yet. But you know what popped into my head was you're a healer. So maybe you are an intermediate. And I do think you're a musician. But I think we both agree that you're for sure a healer. I mean, there's literally irrefutable moments, so many, that illustrate that. And, you know, maybe it's channeling through you, maybe it's not, whatever, right? Yeah. That's all semantics. But you're allowing and stoking the flames, stoking the fuel, fueling the fire, to let this occur, you know, and you put yourself out there, and, you know, sometimes you monetize it, sometimes you don't. But either way, you're giving people permission to let their feelings occur. You're giving people space. You're creating the space. It takes time and effort. You know, you're a healer, man. And there's so many types of healers. Right? And we need all types. We don't just need Western doctors. We don't just need acupuncturists. We don't just need massage therapists. We need sound healers as well. It's very important. And I knew the potency of it, but to hear your stories where you specifically are illustrating how, you know, powerful or instantaneous it can be. I mean, it's really powerful healing. Yeah. Like even in the beginning when I described when you play it, it like it increases. It feels like it's enveloping, like someone's holding me. You know, and this bowl in particular has a really amazing tone. I'm rambling, but I just wanted to tell you, you're a healer.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, it's a tough, you know, I don't know how I feel about that. You know,
label to accept.
Yeah, you know, I think how I like to describe it is that I facilitate an experience so people can allow themselves to heal, right? Like it's them that is doing the healing. They have the ability to do the intention for the healing to occur. They showed up, right? They came to witness this experience or be a part of this collaborative experience, because I'm feeling the energy of that room, of those people that are in there. So I'm amongst other healers is really probably the better way of putting it. We're all healing together and individually. And I'm just one who's kind of brought us together.
Yeah.
That's probably the best way how I
as long
personally
as
feel
you
about it.
share some of the responsibility for it, I would add.
Yeah.
But I 100% agree with you.
Yeah.
People must allow themselves to heal, and they need to do the work. You know, you could be singing bowling for someone. There's a new verb, and they could just completely decide to not want it to happen.
Yeah, there was one time where I had, and it's the only time that's ever occurred. There was a guy that
Wow.
he just didn't want to go there.
Yeah.
I think he started to sense it, and he just didn't want to go there. And I was like, hey, that's fine.
Yeah.
It's just where you're at, man.
And even just that bit of him sensing it maybe will amplify as time passes.
Yeah, for sure. I want to bring up the one thing that still stands out to this day as far as one of the moments that really I thought was the most powerful, and that was when I was at the Oregon Country Fair. The second time I went to the Oregon Country Fair, and that was in 2016. And I was playing the singing bowl. I was standing up playing the singing bowl for this lady. I'd strike it with the mallet, and I'd walk around her. And she was feeling the vibes and really enjoying it. And I caught out of the corner of my eye, there was this lady and this young boy. And they were probably 50 feet away. And so I continued to play the bowl for this lady, and we get done. And there's this little kid out there, and he's just like mesmerized looking at me, right? And so I walk out to this mother and this kid, and I was like, do you mind if I play the bowl for him? She's like, oh no, please go ahead. And so I got down to his level, right? And I got down on my knees, and I was like, do you want me to play the singing bowl for you? He goes, yeah. And so I was like, close your eyes. And I go, just listen to the bowl. And so I'm playing the bowl for him, and next thing I know, his face completely softens, and he just sits there and he kind of goes into this little meditative state. And I'd probably play it for 3 minutes or so, and the mother's just sitting there completely blown away.
She's never seen him
She's
that
never
calm.
never seen anything like the way this child is responding to, and I'm just like, Are you seeing what's going on here with this? And I get done, and I was like, all right, we're done. And he looked at me and he was like, thank you. And I was like, oh, wow, man. So touched my heart.
Yeah.
And that was one of the moments that really has stood out, is that some of the youngest
It changed his whole life.
Yeah, well, you know what my thought was on it? Then you kind of go back to the whole quantum physics and phenomena and all that stuff, is that, everything in this world, it comes from sound and vibration, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like everything is a frequency and is a vibration. And the thought that came to me when I was doing all that was like, wow, that he must have rode that sound current, tapped into where, the origins, right? The other side of where we came from before, being in this physical form. That was the internet connection back there for him, to experience that. That's what came to my mind. Whether that's the case, I don't know, but it's certainly, from my perspective, that's how I felt and observed it. But it was a pretty freaking amazing experience. And since then, I got to play some singing bowls actually 2 weeks ago for a bunch of kids that were from about 5 to 11 years old. And
Cool. Where was that scenario?
that was
Situation.
in Bend. A friend of mine did a community event called Communitas, and it was at Tumalo Academy. And I think there was probably 15 kids, and I played for about 20 minutes, and they were ready to go out and run around afterwards. But about 6 of them hung out afterwards, and they're like, hey, can we play the bowls? Can we touch the bowls? And they're touching them, and I'm giving them instructions on what to do and what not to do and how to respect the bowls and stuff. And there were a couple kids that were just all about it. You could tell that they're like, man, I want one of these things. And I ran into one of the mothers of the kids, and I was like, your daughter was deeply immersed within playing the singing bowl. So I said, that's something to consider, to maybe see if that's something that might go with her, you know, moving forward and stuff. And yeah, it's a pretty awesome, it's a pretty awesome thing to be able to contribute out in society, and people want that. So that's why I'm doing it, you know?
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
It's so good stuff. I lived with a couple of acupuncturists one time, and one of them was particularly gifted. He was probably the best one in the whole city as far as an up-and-coming acupuncturist. They were still just finishing school. And he told me one time that what he wanted for me was to take up the space that I deserve. And I wouldn't say those exact words for you, but to me, all I would want for you is to recognize the role that you're playing. And I'm not saying that you don't, but I just want you to know how important what you're doing is. I think if you do have any lack of that, it's just because you don't want yourself to be like full of yourself. So that's great. No, that's great. Don't let yourself be egotistical. That's just the fact that that's important to you shows that it is important, and you will keep that in check.
Yeah.
But I just think that, and I don't see anything lacking. I just see this little hint that I just want to just remind you that yes, they are doing their own healing, but you're creating that space, and there's a lot of credit in that.
Yeah.
And you can use that to get through the hard times. So it's not something that'll make you go too egotistical. It's just something that can keep you going when going gets rough.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah.
I think you know that about yourself already. I think I'm just reminding you.
Yeah, I would say that's probably very true.
Because this guy could really see like a lack in me, and now that's like really filled out. And so I'm not seeing that in you. I just see like a hint that I just want to remind you of.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
I'm also impressed with what a good speaker you are. You really take your time and have like good imagery and have a great cadence. And man, it's really inspiring. Because I'm sort of quick and I'm like, yeah, let's do this, that. Oh, hey, like this,
right.
you know? So I think that could be tempered a little.
Yeah.
Man, this is awesome. There's so many things we could talk about, but maybe we don't need to talk about all of them. What are you feeling right now?
I don't know. You know.
Okay, I had a question.
Right.
Not to interrupt if you.
No,
were about
no,
to,
I don't necessarily have anything. Go ahead now.
Okay, what advice would you give to people out there in internet land that feel like they aren't living their dreams right now, aren't living their best life, aren't doing what they want to do? What advice would you give to someone in just so many situations to take some sort of step towards doing what they want to do in life?
Yeah, that's a pretty big question.
It is.
Obviously.
I know, I'm like putting you on the spot.
No, I mean, it's fine. There's just so many factors that...
And not everyone can just quit their job and like go full-time
that.
into whatever they want.
I think that really one of the single biggest things that, you know, it probably sounds a little bit cliche, is to get to know yourself. You know, come up with something to really be real with yourself, whether that's journaling, you know, about what you think about, right? Just writing down the thoughts that you have, maybe reflect on your day. Like, what are you thinking about? Like, what are the common thing? What's the theme of your life as far as what's going on, you know, when you're not doing, your job?
I call it surviving capitalism. I say, when you're not surviving capitalism, what are you into?
Yeah, you know, so journaling is a good way, because then, you know, you can really start to see like, wow, I think about this all the time, and, you know, is that important to me? Or, you know, what I've done is, you know, I've decided to do the meditation stuff. I wanted to be able to, you know, really realize that you know, more than my thoughts, and people have to, you know, come to some form of understanding that, and I guess too, you know, some of the motivators for people to do what they're passionate about or what they think they want to do is like, sometimes you got to get sick and tired of
What you're stuck in?
What you're stuck in, right? Like, sometimes you got to suffer. sometimes you got to suffer a little bit to do it, you know. So
It's that old saying, you gotta suffer if you want to sing the blues.
yeah, if you gotta suffer to sing the blues, yeah.
The last little camera check here. Yeah, I think maybe writing down what you wish you could do or your goals, you know. I like the idea of, I never really did it, but I like the idea of just journaling your thoughts too.
Yeah,
what I've experienced, there's a lot of people out there that wish they were doing something, but they feel like they can't because they're stuck in something else. And one of my goals is to try and help people realize that they can do what they want, you know, whether it's full-time or part-time, whether it's monetized or not monetized, you know?
Right. You know, the one thing too is, you know, to be completely real about it all is that, you know, we're white males in a privileged society, and that it really allows you to do, you have a leg up on a lot of things in life if you so put.
My friend told me he gets pulled over by cops like a few times a month just because he's dark-skinned.
Right.
But he didn't say because he's dark-skinned. He just said, I'm dark-skinned, and here in Oregon, in Portland, I'm driving around. I'm getting pulled over a few times a month. And they're just like, oh, what's your ID and stuff? I was pulled over like 10 years ago, and then I just got pulled over the other day. And I just, you know, kept my hands on the steering wheel. Yes, officer. And he just let me go. I had forgot to put the headlights on. And he could have given me a ticket, and he didn't. So, yeah, I mean, I know that it's for sure true that just by who we are in the society we're in, we have like less hurdles sometimes.
Yeah. So, you know, some people's circumstances really require an extraordinary amount of effort. Now, having said that, you know, it's easy to say, you know, you still have the ability to change your outcome and pursue that which is important to you, but you may have to do it, you know, 10 times, 100 times more so than some of us. I mean, I really feel fortunate. Let's just be real about it. I'm very fortunate to be able to do kind of what I want to do right now in my life and stuff. And I don't take that for granted in the sense of I recognize it. Like, I fully recognize it. And I wish that more people could do that for sure. But, you know, you got to want it, right? And for those people that do want it, you got to go after it, and you got to put in the time, and you've got to, you know, look at your day-to-day routine and the habits that you have, and where
you can carve some time. I tell people try and start with an hour a week, you know, because a lot of people have kids. Like, we're both fortunate that we don't have kids in the sense that it gives us some more free time.
Right.
I feel that I am missing out on some things, so I'm not, you know, saying which is better. But I think that even with kids, you might be able to fit in like half an hour a week or something. I mean, maybe I'm naive, but I do try and tell people if they can start with an hour a week that you could accomplish anything, I think.
Well, I mean, there are people out there that do pretty amazing things for the world, and they've got a full family. And
superheroes, right?
They're like, I don't even know how some people do it with a full family, and they work.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're getting like 4 hours of sleep a night. Yeah. I mean, I need my 8 or 9 hours of sleep a night, or I am worthless. But I guess, you know, that goes to, you know, knowing yourself, right? Like, knowing what you're capable of. And if you're not, you know, able to do what you truly want to do in life right now, be inspired, right? Like, look up to the people, follow people, and observe what people are doing, so that hopefully the spark within will ignite, you know, at some point. And you know, when the timing is right, that the seed will have already been planted, and then, you know,
then it can sprout.
Yeah, then it can totally sprout. I mean, I think that makes the most sense.
And that's what I mean when I say the hour per week. It could just be reading about it. Maybe you can't afford the tools yet or something.
Right.
But you could be reading about it a little bit. Or like you're saying, journaling. And then for me, I think of it as just writing down what you want to do, which there's different forms of journaling.
Right.
And there's a lot of forms of journaling that are worth doing. The one that definitely stands out to me is just when you write, like, I want to do this, I will do this, or this is what I'd like to do, however you phrase it.
Right.
And I think that it's really powerful, and a lot of people, I think, or I observe, don't start because they think that they have to have so much free time or so much free money. And then even though they could maybe start with half an hour a week or whatever, that they don't because they think that's not enough. But really that would start this snowball.
Yeah.
Rolling and growing.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
I just want to help. I just want to let people know that they can. I want to give them permission, but not even just, they don't need my permission. I just want to let them know it's possible and that they don't need as much as they think they might need to start. Because once you start, then you're doing it.
Right.
And it's the journey,
Yeah, you're going to face hurdles along the way. There's no doubt about it. I mean, what I'm realizing now is that, not every day is the greatest day of your life. And there are moments that, I doubt everything that I'm doing. And am I worthy? Am I good enough? Should I be doing this? And that goes back to the mindfulness, just because the thought is occurring, it doesn't mean I need to latch onto it and follow it, right? Just follow that thought of
That's
yeah, exactly.
This too shall pass.
So, that makes a big difference. But again, if someone is able to create their life the way they want to, they're going to have whatever they want and define it as successful based on the time they put into it and then the output, and how people receive it. So anyway, that, like I said, that's a pretty big question. And
yeah. I don't mean to minimalize people's challenges at all.
Right.
I had a ballet teacher once that said anyone can do their best on a good day, but if you can do your best on a really bad day, that's when the world is yours.
Yeah, for sure, right? It's so easy to do it when things are going good.
Yeah.
I know that for sure. But, it doesn't take long for things to go really south real quick. I mean, it's just going to happen in a moment. All of a sudden I could be laying there and be passing a kidney stone, laying on the ground and like screaming bloody murder, and
a tree could fall on the house.
Right. Who knows? But, it's so much easier to do it when things are all great.
Yeah. Frictionless.
But I really look up to those people that are able to endure whatever their environment is thrown at them, and it's not pleasant by any stretch, and they're able to persevere and overcome. But such is the human experience.
Yeah, man. This is awesome. Did you like I said, I think we could keep talking forever, but it is 3:33. Do you want to did you want to do some more bowl stuff? And
what my thought was is that,
please.
I think that, I mentioned to you earlier, I think what I want to do is I want to do a webcast in the next few days to where I can kind of show off a little bit more of what people get to experience, by coming and laying down. It won't be the same effect, but you'll get the idea, right? And you can... Yeah.
But they even have, you could eventually get a 360 mic that it has like 6 mics on it, and it films out like that, and you could have it where the person would normally sit. I can show you the ones later that I was looking at, but
that would be great.
Cool. Yeah, do you want to maybe do just a short one, and I'll go grab that camera? And
sure.
Cool, man. I'm really happy with how this went, and I just want to thank you again for taking the time and feeling the vibe.
Yeah,
I mean,
sure.
I knew it, I had a hunch it would go well, but honestly, man, your story about how you got into it was really moving and really well spoken.
Thanks.
So, clip it, chat. You know what I mean? That's like we can
clip it. Yeah.
It's good. So yeah, thanks a lot, man. I'm gonna go flip the modes, but really appreciate you, and we should do this again, and then we can talk about other stuff.
Yeah.
Anytime.
Maybe some more real world things or whatnot.
Yeah, economics.
Yeah.
But I like that because I sort of had thought that maybe we would, but save it for next time. This is really, really beautiful.
Thanks. Appreciate you.
All right, man.
For having me, guys.
Where can people find you on social media?
Oh yeah, the social media. So I'm on Instagram. It's Erik, Erik, the Singing Bull Guy. Oh no, I'm sorry. No, it's Erik the Singing Bull Guy on Facebook.
Okay.
It's the Singing Bull Guy
on
Instagram.
Nice.
Yeah.
And no spaces or underscores, just at the Singing Bull Guy.
Yeah, and Erik on Facebook is Erik.
Yeah, Erik space the Singing Bull Guy.
Yep.
Nice. All right. Well, I'm gonna flip modes, but thanks for listening, everybody, and more to come.
Yeah. Thanks.